Hello, my name's Joe, and what we're going to be looking at today is a few little tips to help people who want to learn Unreal Engine. If you find this helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more videos. And don't forget to check out my website, 3dassetlibrary.com, for Unreal and Unity Engine assets. So I get asked quite often in things like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. How do you learn Unreal Engine? You know, what's the easiest way to learn Unreal Engine? And these are a few tips that I'm going to give you. They're not gospel, it's just my opinion on things. So if you don't agree with them, that's great. That's your choice. These are also not in any particular order either. If you find this helpful and you'd like to see perhaps more tips, please let me know in the comments and I could, do another video on other areas. First off, there is no real easy way to learn Unreal Engine. It comes down to the person. Some people can soak things up in a week. Some people can, soak things up in 6 months. Some people might be amazing at coding and others amazing at modeling. So, it is really down to the person, and there is no easy way out of things. It's at some point you're going to come to an area that you think, I'm stuck on this. I'm going to need to do a little bit of research, etc. So anyway, my first tip would be, and I find this quite important for beginners because it can get you very disheartened if not, is curb your expectations. In that, I did it when I first started learning Unreal Engine. I'm going to make an RPG, and you soon realise that the engine is not, although it's brilliant, it's not a miracle engine where you could press a few buttons and you got yourself an RPG. You can buy things off of the asset store, but in reality, you're still going to need an understanding of Unreal Engine to make all of that efficiently work and whatnot. So the reason I say curb your expectations is because a lot of people, when they start out, and this was myself included, is that you're running away with these plans in your head, which I think are brilliant. I love that people are optimistic and think big. Sometimes things pay off that are big, sometimes they don't. But it's for me, it's good to dream big, and if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. But the reason I'm saying this is because obviously if you go in and think, well, I'm going to make a huge RPG, it's not going to happen straight away. So you're going to get despondent. It puts a lot of people off learning. And, this also applies to Unity Engine and Godot and things like that. So it's not just something that's specific to Unreal Engine. It's something that I guess is life, So my second tip would be to learn the basics of the interface and where things are located in Unreal Engine. So you want to, get a little bit of knowledge of the modes panel, the world outliner, the details panel, and the content browser. These are your sort of primary areas you're constantly working in. And then there are other areas like your blueprints, your camera tracking and things like that. It's good to, it's essentially like learning anything. You can't just get in a car and drive it. You need to know how the pedals work, how, the steering wheel works, the indicators, things like that. You can't just, jump in and learn something. It's also when you're, if you're perhaps stuck on something and you look at a video that you need, that is guiding you through something and you might not know where things are, you might not know where the lights are, it's good to have an understanding of where these things are. Just like with anything. Number 3, I would say learn simple things initially, like how to import a model, then how do you apply a simple material to that model, and then perhaps how do you apply a little bit more complicated textures to that model. Things like that, how do you light the model? You don't want to run away with the ideas of running away with, I'm going to make, put this person, I'm going to animate it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's what you want to do is you want to start small so that you feel like you're achieving something each time, and then build, as you get more and more confident, you build up into more complicated things. As you go along, things like blueprints, which we'll come to in a minute, and adding animation to things, physics, things, all of that. So initially start small on little things that will get you moving. As I said, like for me, one of the first things I learned was how do I import an FBX model, and how do I then apply a texture to it, and then how do I light that, and then you obviously get into more complicated things like this as you're going along. Tip 4 is, if you're not a coder, and by coder I mean someone that can sit down and do C++, which if you can, you're a better person than me because I don't have the brain for it. Look at learning the basics of blueprints. Now, blueprints is their visual scripting. inside of Unreal Engine, and this you could essentially make a whole game off of it if you wanted to. Obviously, there's limitations and it's things like that, but with each version of Unreal, it's getting more efficient and things are added to it. So it's it's definitely worth looking at. This also not just for making full blown games, but it can add little bits of animation if you wanted to make this shoot here. Blowing the wind a bit, you could add a little animation in it. You could turn lights on and off. You could, walk up to a door, and then when you press E, it opens the door. It's you can do all these kind of things from blueprints. It's just really good to have. If you're not a coder, it's really good to have a little bit of knowledge of blueprints. To create your scenes initially, because you can add a little bit of interactive elements to your things that help you get inspired. Now, my last one, which I think, my last tip, which I think is very important, is set yourself goals. Now, going back to that RPG thing, say you want to make the next Witcher, the reality of it is like you're almost like, well, where do you start? Now, if you break these down into goals, you feel like you're always achieving something, so it then moves yourself forward. So an example is say we were going to create our first game, and our first game was going to be Pong. So this is one of the first games ever made. And so you're looking at Pong. It's incredibly simple. Okay, visually it's boring, obviously today's standards of visuals and things like that. But start small. So you think, well, I'm going to learn how to make Pong. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to make this go up and down. So how do I do that? Well, I need to use the up and down keys on my keyboard. So initially do that. So yeah, I've got it moving up and down. Now what I need to do is I need to add these walls in so that the ball can bounce off it. So I need to add collision to these walls. How do I do that? Then I need to make the ball bounce around and hit something. And then what you'll need to do is add some simple artificial intelligence into this to basically try and bounce the ball back. And then your scoring system, etc., things like that. So if you break it all down into little chunks that become more manageable, it's essentially, I guess, in a way, a little bit like micromanaging, where you're breaking it all down into tiny pieces, and you're giving yourself goals. In micromanagement, you're telling other people what to do, and you're managing that. But essentially, you're breaking this down into tiny goals, and you can break them down even further. Say you want this to, well, I need to make this move up and down. Well, first I need to make it move up, and then I need to make it move down. And you're setting yourself goals, and it's constantly, in a way, it's constantly feeding your sort of what's the word? The pleasure and reward part of your brain. So you feel like you're achieving something, which you are, because you're not trying to do everything all in one go. You're being sensible about it. Because then what happens is, once you've done, say, created Pong here, you can make something a bit more advanced like a Pac-Man, or then you can move up to, say, something like pinball and things like that. And what happens is this process of thinking, this is setting goals and breaking them down and things like that, can be then scaled up into bigger things like an RPG. Obviously, naturally, they take more time, but you're planning your steps that let you get to where you want to do. Like for me, I look at in the past, I've done like these follow along with these videos that teach you how to make a game. For me, and this is me, not necessarily everyone, they don't work, because what's happening is you're watching someone else do it and you're not learning. So by breaking down, how do I make this move, you can then target that area. If you can't figure it out, you can say, well, how do I perhaps add an input key into this, so the arrow up does, how do I do that? How do you break it down so you're not having it spoon-fed to you, essentially? So what's happening is your brain is learning more efficiently. This is, again, for me, learning more efficiently, but you also learn how to ask the correct questions in Google. And they often say, like, a tech support or a coder's job half the time is Googling. And so, it's what's happening is you're absorbing it a lot more efficiently, I find, than following along with someone's tutorial. Because what happens is that person, you could be following, say for me, I could create a whole series on how we're going to create a game together, and then I could get hit by a bus, and then you get halfway through the tutorial and there's no more videos. Hopefully I don't get hit by a bus. And so you need to be able to do these things by yourself. So as I say, set yourself goals. Try and do everything yourself. Obviously there's no harm in asking for help, but you don't want someone to go, well, I want you to make a Pong game for me. and then I'm going to copy it. Well, don't, because you're not understanding how things work and things like that. Again, these are just my views. They're not necessarily correct. They're not, it's not gospel or anything like that. These are just here to try and help people, learn and sort of, in a way, guide a little bit better. If you'd like to, obviously, me to do a bit more of a guided direction of perhaps learning the interface, learning things like that, please do let me know, because I'm always here to try and help. But for me, the two important things is initially curb your expectations, so you don't run away with these ideas and then get disheartened when you can't do it, and or initially can't do it, and then set yourself goals that you work to, and that you're not following along with someone else's video, because I feel that you won't learn a lot. And I've helped people with this in the past, and it's worked every time. Just set yourself little goals each day to do until you can get an understanding of that. So if this has helped, great, and cheers. Please do like, subscribe, and hit the bell if it has, and that really helps me. Cheers.